Hello, welcome to my YouTube video. Today I want to talk about reducing motion blur with macro photography. The equipment I'm going to use is a Sony A7R3 42 megapixel camera, a Sigma 105 dedicated macro lens, and a Godox V1 flash. I also have a Mieke MK320, which is one of the least expensive, smallest compact flashes you can get. Talking about reducing motion blur. Motion blur, makes your images blurry. You can kind of correct it with the Topaz AI Photo or AI Sharpen, which really, it does a great job at correcting motion blur. But you want to really try and reduce it down to next to nothing if you possibly can. So the flash is one way to do it, and I will put a picture I took 50 years ago when I was 17 years old with a flash. It's in black and white, but it's of a bee, and it was with a Handheld 500C medium format film camera with a 50mm extension tube on the lens. So I've been using flash for macro since I was 17 years old. So the reason the flash reduces motion blur, because the flash flashes very fast. On the lower power settings it's the fastest, and I believe this one flashes at 1/6000th of a second, which, since it's the primary light source, it's providing a effective shutter speed of 1/6000th of a second. The Mieke is pretty similar, and since you close up you don't need the power, so the Mieke does pretty good. But the Godox has a better TTL system. The exposure is usually right on with the Godox TTL, which is nice because your camera's set at manual, and you don't want to have to fight with settings or you're trying to do macro. The other thing is you want some kind of stabilizer on your camera. This is a Movo shoulder stabilizer, and it's mainly for video cameras, but that doesn't mean you can't use it for macro, and you can use it for macro video too. The Sony A7R3 has in-body image stabilization. The Sigma macro lens does not have does not have image stabilization, but it's an excellent lens for under $1,000. It does have a restriction on the autofocus, so you can make the autofocus only focus in the macro range, which reduces the hunting with the autofocus. And it has an aperture ring on it like the lenses of the old days, so you can select your aperture from a ring. Of course, it has the autofocus and the manual focus switch on it like all Sigma lenses do. It has a lock to lock the autofocus, which is great because you don't have to go hunting for menu items. And the Sony cameras have a lot of menu items. So the other thing I do is I stabilize my body by sitting in a stool if it's the right height to capture the image. So I'll show you how that works. Push this stabilizer against your shoulder and take the hat off, or or put it around backwards so the visor doesn't hit the camera. Alright. Okay. Alright. Now we'll shoot with the Mieke flash. And you notice I'm using diffusers. It's important to use a diffuser on the flash. To diffuse the light, spread it out, and make the shadows less harsh. Put the Mieke in TTL. The lens is set at f11, so it has some depth of focus or depth of field. I wait for the wind to die down a little bit. So the Mieke freezes it pretty good. Say this, but the $70 Mieke flash for this purpose works as good as the Godox V1. Last year I did Bs, which move very fast. The Godox would probably be better at that because it has a higher effective shutter speed because it's more powerful. And it runs at a lower setting. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. In conclusion, it's important to use flash, number one, to get that high effective shutter speed and the nice even lighting on your subject. With the diffuser, it definitely improves. This diffuser came with the Mieke. The diffuser on the Godox, the dome, that's an option for the Godox. And I can also show you another diffuser which you can use, and it's not expensive, and it works really good with other flashes. So I'm just gonna to wind up my video. If you like my YouTube video, please click on like and subscribe. To reduce motion blur, use some kind of body stabilizer or a stool, lean against a tree, anything to stop your body from moving. Use the shoulder stabilizer to hold the camera still. Use a diffuser on your flash. Use a flash. Don't depend upon high ISO and high shutter speed. You get a noisy looking picture that way. You want to shoot at ISO 100 or the lowest native ISO that your camera will do to get the sharpest images. You can use an expensive flash like the Godox V1 or the least expensive flash you can buy, the Mieke 320, and the Mieke came with a diffuser. The Godox, it was optional. And if you don't have a diffuser, you can buy these from, and they fold up into a small package from Amazon, You slide it over your lens, and it makes an excellent diffuser. So this black and white photo of a bee was taken when I was 17 years old. That's 50 years ago. With a Hasselblad 500C 50 millimeter extension tube with the 80 millimeter Zeiss planar lens that came with it. I used a Metz flash, which they still make them today, but in 1972 they weren't very powerful. And color film, maximum ISO was only 160. So I had to use Tri-X Kodak, which was 400, to get to f8 to get some decent depth of focus on the bee. And I just set the focus ring on the lens and snapped it, and I snapped several of them before the bee flew away, and I was lucky to actually get a shot. The equipment of that day, it wasn't great for macro. I'm going to show you some of my bee photos that I shot last year with the Nikon D5600 and a Sigma 100 millimeter macro lens. And I used a Mieke flash, and it's handheld with the Movo shoulder rig. And if you like my video, please click like and subscribe. I'm going to post more videos. I'll put in the comment section, I'll put links to my stores so you can view more of my photos and download them if you want, or have prints made. The downloads are around $2 a piece. Not expensive. So, and I'll leave the details on the equipment that I used. Not that you have to go out and buy that equipment. There's plenty of fine cameras and macro lenses, or you can use extension tubes or close-up filters on the lens to do macro. Till the next video.